What's up everybody on YouTube? AJ Russ back to discuss another video, and today we're going to be recapping the NFL wildcard round. Guys, there's a lot I have to say in this video about these games. Every game was different. There was a few blowouts for sure. One that stood out more than the others most definitely. So there's a lot to conversate about that. A lot of storylines, a huge ripple effect to talk about from some of these games. I'm not going to waste your time. Let's get into the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. Also make sure you hit the like button. You know what we post about here: sports, lifestyle, pop culture, NBA, NFL. So with all that being said, let's talk about the wildcard games. Alright guys, so the first game that took place, of course, was a matchup between the Houston Texans and the Cleveland Browns, and the Texans absolutely bludgeoned the Browns, winning 45-14, 30 ball at them. Really surprising, of course, the season that Houston has had, but not surprising to them. Like, a lot of people are saying they don't belong here. They don't know. No one expected them to do this. No one expected them to win 10 games, but that's dangerous, and they are hot right now. And really, when you're in the playoffs, that's what it's about, the most hot team. And I'm not saying that the Texans are going to win a Super Bowl, because they're going to have a tough matchup in the divisional round, but they're playing really great football. And after this year, you look at this team, who wouldn't want to play with CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans? They play for each other. It's an inspired group. They're going to attract a lot of free agents, and in a draft, who knows what they're going to do as well. It's a really successful season in Houston, and I'm proud to be from Houston in that aspect. They're not my favorite team, but just seeing the type of hope that they've instilled in the city of Houston, it is amazing to see. And of course, CJ Stroud, he had an amazing game. What's new? Completed 16 out of his 21 passing attempts, had 274 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, for me, he's the greatest rookie I've ever seen play football, period. That's not crazy to say. A lot of people have said that, and that holds true. There's been a lot of great rookies to come throughout this league, but this rookie season for sure, CJ Stroud, I don't think anyone will be able to match it, because he has been phenomenal. It's how he's been able to uplift his team. No one viewed the Texans as a real threat, as a real contender to even win the AFC South, and what they have done this year is nothing short of sensational, and props to them. If you look on the flip side with the Browns, I really don't have too much to say about them. Joe Flacco, he had a good Linsanity run, but I was telling my grandpa as we were watching this game, I think he should hang it up after this game. I mean, of course, he's a really good back. I mean, he showed flashes, but he played good, but he also had a lot of interceptions and turnovers too in the stretch that he had with the Browns, helping to make the playoffs. So it's just tough for the Browns. Really, everything came collapsing. Their defense is one of the best in the league, but on the road, they allowed 29 points per game, and I believe at home, they allowed like 13, so that's a huge discrepancy. But for the Texans, man, they are on the come up, and props to them. This game right here was a blowout. Are you noticing a theme? The next game that we're going to talk about also is a blowout, but we're going to focus in on the Dolphins and Chiefs, as the Chiefs won in Arrowhead, winning 26-7. A game from the jump obviously favored the Kansas City Chiefs because of the environment being -4 degrees, wind chill of -22. That's insane. I can't imagine that right now. It's January in Houston area. It's like 30-something degrees, 20-something degrees, which is obviously abnormal here. And this is cold to me. So being in that weather and then having to play football too, I can't imagine that. That's crazy. Props to all the athletes that play in that type of weather. Same thing, we'll talk about the Buffalo game later, but that's just insane. I couldn't do that. That's tough. And Miami, they're used to being in South Beach, so this game was really done before it started. And you saw that the Miami Dolphins were able to have that touchdown with Tyreek Hill. But besides that, they couldn't do nothing. The Chiefs had their way all night long. Jarius Sneed against Tyreek Hill, he played pretty good against him as well. So there's just a lot to evaluate there. Are the Dolphins going to extend Tua? We don't know. That's a real question. It'll be his 5th year next year, and they're probably going to make it a prove-it year for him. And he was able to stay healthy this year, so that's a positive component to take away from their season in 2023. But they fell short. They had bigger plans than just being in the first round, and they led the division in the AFC, and they led the division in the AFC East for a majority of the season. But that loss against the Titans, and then of course in Week 18, that final game to win the division against the Buffalo Bills, they folded and lost that game. And we know that they were severely injured, so I'll give them that. That's an excuse that they have, but still, they had opportunities, and it sucks for them. Then talking about the Chiefs, arguably, this could be the best game of the season that they've had so far. And a season that has been very disappointing in terms of explosive plays, in terms of receivers dropping the ball. Literally, they had a pretty good performance. Mahomes and Rashid Rice connection was evident, as Mahomes, of course, had 262 passing yards in the game, had a touchdown, and Rashid Rice had 130 receiving yards, 8 receptions, and a touchdown. The Kansas City Chiefs, they weren't really bothered by the weather. People definitely expected this game to be a run-heavy game, rightfully so with the weather conditions, but the Chiefs still played in their style, the play action, still utilizing Patrick Mahomes' elite playmaking ability, and it was on display. So they for sure should be considered as a real threat still. And even though this is the most vulnerable we've ever seen the Chiefs in the Patrick Mahomes era, they're still a dangerous team in the playoffs. This game right here was a cluster, you know what, for Dallas Cowboys fans, as their season was spoiled, all their hopes spoiled, their quote-unquote curse being lifted was spoiled as well, as the Green Bay Packers really killed them. The score should have been 48-16, but it ended up being 48-32 because the Cowboys had some garbage time touchdowns. But that's besides the point. The Cowboys laid an absolute egg. There's going to be so much change that happens in Dallas. I don't even know if we can keep up with it, but I expect that for sure. Jerry Jones was speechless, which is the complete opposite of how we usually see him. He always usually has something to say, and no one expected that. I mean, the Packers, they've been competitive throughout the year, but in his past 6 to 7 weeks, they have been hot. I believe Jordan Love has had 22 touchdowns and only 1 interception in that stretch. So like I said about the Texans earlier, if you're playing hot going into the playoffs, that's not just going to poof and go away, especially if you have a good game plan going in. And Matt LaFleur, a lot of people have given him flack in years past with him having Aaron Rodgers as a fault, saying that basically that Aaron Rodgers carries him. But he put in a great game plan going into Dallas, having the ball first, having a 75-yard drive, not letting the Dallas Cowboys get ahead. And as we know, the Dallas Cowboys, they are front runners. If they don't have the lead, they're going to be vulnerable and quit, basically. And that's what they did. Their defense had been dominant all year. Of course, we know that they were 16-0 at home till this game. But from the jump, they just looked awful. The coverages were soft. Dan Quinn, I've never seen him coach the defense so poorly like he did. People were wide open. Musgrave was open on several occasions. Like, the coverage was just awful. It's going to be a lot of retooling if you're a Cowboys fan. I don't think that there's a way that you can keep Mike McCarthy. I mean, if you're doing that, you're just sending a message that you just don't care. You're content with where you are. There's a lot of trades and structure that needs to happen. I believe the running game needs to improve. A lot of people wanted them to trade for Derrick Henry. Could you possibly do that? Maybe. Still, Dak Prescott, are you that guy, man? I don't know if he is, man. You have to have everything right around him. And at this point, Dallas has good weapons. Of course, CeeDee Lamb did not really show up. There was a clear disconnect between him and Dak Prescott from the jump of the game, so that didn't help the Cowboys at all. But I mean, how many weapons does Dak need? We've seen it time and time again. 2021-22 against San Francisco, the 22-23 season against San Francisco, and now in 23-24 against Green Bay. It's like those teams are the Cowboys' kryptonite, and it sucks to say, but where do the Cowboys go for here? A lot of people are going to talk about, ooh, should they hire Bill Belichick? I mean, of course he's the GOAT coach in the NFL, but his way of connecting with players, I believe, is archaic now in this new generation of football players. But who knows what Jerry Jones has up his sleeve? Dan Quinn, I believe a lot of people wanted him to be a head coach in different places. They still could, but after seeing him coach defensively like that, how could you? And if Bill Belichick comes in, of course, it's going to be his defense, which his defense is still great. Even in New England this past season, they did suck, but they had a really respectable defense. So only time will tell with that. But the Cowboys, if you're a Cowboys fan, I feel so awful for you. Green Bay, y'all are on the come up, and y'all are for real. This is the worst season y'all are going to have, and y'all are going into the divisional round. So Jordan Love, he is that guy. The way that they set up quarterbacks, going from Brett Favre, going to Aaron Rodgers, now going to Jordan Love, it's special in there. So hey, y'all cheeseheads, respect to y'all most definitely. It's a great performance and a great win. They're going to play against San Francisco in the divisional round. That'll be a tough game. We know that San Francisco always gives Green Bay a tough time, but respect the Green Bay because no one expected them to be at this point. Finally, a good game and a game with a lot of drama as the Detroit Lions beat the Los Angeles Rams, winning 24-23. A beautiful game with Jared Goff playing against his former team in LA, and then vice versa with Matthew Stafford playing his former team in Detroit. Just a lot of storylines, and it ended up being a great game that lived up to the hype. A lot of people will say that the Lions had the last laugh in this scenario, of course, getting this playoff win, and props to them. I'm gonna say this most definitely. I said that they were frauds in past videos. They won a playoff game, so respect to them for sure. The Lions, they're on the come up, man. So I was wrong saying that they're fraudulent. They had a good win against the Rams team who were hot on the offensive end and still had opportunities to win the game, let's be real, but they won a playoff game in Detroit, so there's a lot of hope there. So shout out to them and props to them. Jared Goff had 277 passing yards and a touchdown against his former team. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 110 receiving yards. I mean, just the game was really good. A lot of explosive plays, not really the biggest defensive game, but the Lions got stops when they needed to. Matthew Stafford, I mean, he is a Hall of Fame quarterback for sure. I think that there's no question about that. He had a great performance, having 367 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, completed 25 out of his 36 passing attempts. So it was a really good game, and we really needed that considering the games that we had before. Puka Nacua, he is a superstar and an absolute steal for the Los Angeles Rams. Him and Kyron Williams. Puka Nacua had 181 receiving yards on 9 receptions and a touchdown. He is a dog, man. It's crazy because we have had 2 offensive rookies, and CJ Stroud and Puka Nacua have arguably the greatest rookie seasons of all time. And of course, you can't give 2 offensive rookie of the year awards, but in any other year, Nacua would have won it easily. But it's just great. We're seeing a lot of high-level football. And I think for the Rams, this is viewed as a retool and rebuild year, but winning 10 games and still making the playoffs, I mean, that's going to go a long way. And who knows what moves they can make going into the 2024-25 season. A lot of people will want to play with Matthew Stafford still, who is still playing at a high level, having those assets and weapons like Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and still Cooper Kupp, who's an explosive receiver. And we don't know defensively for the Rams how long Aaron Donald will play. He still can play at a high level, but regardless of that, they have a bright future, and being in the same division as San Francisco, they're trying to match up back to that and potentially position themselves for another Super Bowl run. So we'll see with them. Respectable season for sure for the Rams, but for the Lions, y'all deserve this. Going into the divisional round, nothing but to say, but props to them. Detroit deserves it most definitely. This game here wasn't really close from the jump. Between the Steelers and the Bills, we expected the Bills to win. This game being delayed and things of that nature, but they won the game 31-17. I would say definitely a dominant performance. It was 21-0 at some point in the game. The Steelers tried to fight back, but it was to no avail, and the Bills took care of business. Really, for the past month and some change, it's been the playoffs for the Bills, winning now 7 games in a row. They've been playing really impressive with Joe Brady calling the plays, James Cook dominating the running game, Josh Allen being able to not do too much, not playing hero ball, making smart decisions. The Bills, like I said before, I believe they're the biggest threat to the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC. And we're going to be getting our third matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in the playoffs in this divisional round. Looking forward to it for sure. Of course, Mahomes got the first 2, but it could be different this year. This is going to be Mahomes' first playoff game on the road of his career in Buffalo. They said that it's probably going to be around 20 degrees. So we know it gets cold in Kansas City, but also in Buffalo, and it's going to be in Buffalo. So it's going to favor them in terms of that aspect. It's going to be a really entertaining game, and who knows? Third time could be the charm for Josh Allen and the Bills, and they could beat the Bills. Josh Allen, he had an impressive performance in this game, completing 21 out of his 30 passing attempts, had 203 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Also had a rushing touchdown, 52 yards. That was nice. They were just able to get a lot of things going. And for the Steelers' perspective, I mean, they had a really respectable season. If you have Mike Tomlin, you're going to always have a chance to make the playoffs, and they're always going to fight. But we knew that they were limited offensively throughout the entire year. Of course, having Matt Canada earlier in the season calling plays, then firing him. And then Mason Rudolph, he had a little revitalization, but we know he's still ultimately a limited quarterback. But a lot of respect to him for sure, how he was able to rally the Pittsburgh Steelers and push them into a playoff run. But I'm looking forward to this divisional round matchup between the Bills and the Chiefs for sure. It's going to be a great game. I can't wait to watch it. The last game of Super Wildcard Weekend was a matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles got clapped, losing 32-9. Before I get into the game, I want to give props to Jason Kelce. A legendary career. Retiring after this game, you could just tell the emotion on his face that was his last game. Helped lead the Philadelphia Eagles to that 2017 title, helped change the culture there, and for sure a future Hall of Famer in my eyes. And that'll be a huge hit for the Philadelphia Eagles going forward. We know that he was a focal point and a leader of the offensive line. Of course, they still have Lane Johnson and other pieces, but that's going to be tough for them. And the elephant in the room is that the Eagles, they collapsed this season. After starting off 10-1, losing 6 of their last 7 games, that's atrocious. There had to be something that happened in the locker room. We don't know, but Sirianni for sure kind of lost command of the group. I don't think that he should be fired. That's a little rash decision in my eyes, but you definitely have to get some better coordinators in there offensively and defensively. We saw the hit that they had, losing Jonathan Gannon defensively, as he is the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals now. The secondary was poor, especially against Tampa Bay. They couldn't tackle anybody. And then offensively, just being so limited. And we know Jalen Hurts, he is their franchise quarterback, but let's be real, he showed more flashes of 2021 Jalen Hurts and 2022 Jalen Hurts. That's a concern for sure. AJ Brown not playing in this game definitely hurt them, but I even believe if he still played, they still probably would have lost because the locker room was just lost. Props to Baker Mayfield. He carved the Eagles defense, completed 22 out of his 36 passing attempts, had 337 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He just played really good football, and I think that Tampa should for sure pay him after this season. He's proven to the league and proven to himself that he's capable of being an above average starter in the NFL, has his swagger back, and you can see that, and it's going to be a really good matchup, I believe, against Detroit. It did play earlier this season. Detroit won that game, but it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. Just because you beat somebody in the regular season doesn't mean that'll happen in the postseason. We saw that with the Texans and the Browns, so that should be a good matchup. But the 2 NFC East teams in Philadelphia and Dallas, they were just absolutely awful in this postseason, and they deserve to lose. But props to Tampa Bay for getting the dub. So really, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the teams that lost because they're irrelevant now. They're out the postseason. They're as good as the teams that are going to pick top 5 this year because they're at home, they're at the crib and on the couch. So no point in talking about the teams that lost. My favorite team lost. I'm not telling you who they are because it's pointless and I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, but the teams that did win, there's going to be some interesting matchups and some great matchups. On Saturday, seeing the Ravens against the Texans, a week 1 matchup coming full circle in a divisional round, seeing Lamar Jackson against CJ Stroud. It'll be a good game, I feel like. A lot of people doubted CJ Stroud against that Browns defense, and we know how good the Ravens defense is as well, but I expect CJ Stroud to be poised. He has all this year, so why wouldn't I expect that again? I think that the Ravens will still win, but I can't say if it'll be close or if it'll be a blowout because it's really unpredictable in my eyes. That'll be a really good game. Then talking about the Green Bay Packers and the 49ers game, one would say that the 49ers should blow them out, but how the Packers have been playing, like I said, they are hot right now. When teams are hot, you're not just going to go in there and blow somebody out when they've been playing good football and having good camaraderie and chemistry, so that's going to be a really good game. We know in the past that the 49ers have been the Green Bay Packers kryptonite, but you never know. But if the 49ers play how they should take care of business and move on to the NFC Championship. Then going into the Sunday games, the Detroit Lions and Tampa Bay game, honestly, that's unpredictable in my eyes. I feel like the Detroit Lions, they will potentially be a better matchup for the San Francisco 49ers because the Bucs, we know they were in that weak NFC South and they did win the game against the Eagles, so props to them, but I just can't see them putting up a fight if they were to move on to the NFC Championship against the 49ers, so only time will tell, but that's just my eyes. I feel like the Lions should win that game. Sometimes what should happen doesn't, so you never know. And then for the last game on Sunday, a third matchup in the playoffs between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. We always know it's going to be good football seeing those two quarterbacks go back and forth. This time in Buffalo, Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game. It's going to be good, man. Honestly, I can't predict that game. The Bills, they're hot as well. They've won 7 straight, but we know what Mahomes is capable of in the playoffs. So there's some really good games, man. I'm looking forward to them. Let me know in the comments down below what games you're looking forward to the most, some of your predictions, and who you have going to the Super Bowl. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching. Always make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SwaggyRuss. And also on TikTok at SwaggyRuss02 for cooking videos, sports content, things of that nature. More videos are on the way. Of course, we're going to continue these series and recaps of the playoffs, going into the divisional round, to the conference championship games, and then, of course, recapping the season as a whole with the Super Bowl video. That's going to be great. And just stay tuned for more types of content on here. Y'all be blessed. Hope 2024 is off to a great start for you. Have a good one. Peace.